Hey, good Saturday morning, guys. Michael Clark here with BAM Weather. It is about 7:30 on Saturday, November 22nd, and we've got some Notre Dame football today. We've got some good action going on, but we've also got winter weather coming, and so we're going to talk about that this morning a little bit more in detail about what's been evolving over the last few days. What does it look like for the pattern in general going forward? I've tried to lay it out for you here pretty well. It's a little bit more of a technical discussion today, but hopefully gives you a little bit more insight as to what to expect as we move forward here over the next several weeks. Listen, we have, I'm going to show you this map real quick to start this out. This is our map we updated yesterday on the winter storm potential here for some significant accumulation of snow, whether or not this low pressure center tracks where you see right now. This is early information. There's big differences in data right now. And what I want to talk about is why we are seeing this. Why would we see storm tracks that are favoring the Central Plains, the Great Lakes, and cutting hard to bring rain for a lot of folks in the eastern U.S.? And we're going to talk directly about that today and why we believe that to be happening. So let's pull this up, turn a time box on here. This is Synoptic Weather, by the way, synopticwx.com. This is a product we're working on making better. It's our product. It's awesome because of its ability to work on any platform. It's fully interactive, and it works on mobile. Unlike a lot of the other things that you see out there right now, we're working on the continuation and the development of it. So go check it out. You can beta test it. So real quick, let's start. We've got rain moving through Monday into Tuesday. This is the latest AIFS here, overnight runs from the European. And again, you can see rain moving through early next week. There's a storm system that we talked about last Tuesday that might impact some travel weather across the northern tier, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and the Great Lakes. Again, that's another what you would call a cutter, what I would call a cutter. That low pressure center cuts deep and brings rain to the east, snow on the west and northwest side of that. This is Thursday morning, waking up for Thanksgiving, and you're probably going to see temperatures that are relatively pretty cold here. And really, as you go throughout the day, it's not really a very warm day. Black Friday, waking up probably about 60%, 55% of the country is below freezing. So big deal for heating demand. Certainly going to be cold blast of air here this weekend. Okay. Now, there's not a lot of weather as that moves out, but what I want to show you is the next system that starts to try to materialize and potentially bring in a bigger storm, which is what we have focused here. This is the European AI just trying to delineate the difference between rain and snow. Yes, there's going to be some mixing in there. This model doesn't really do that. You have to actually kind of come up with your own algorithm to make it even show precipitation type. But this is next Sunday, so the Sunday, November 30th. Again, you can see this big storm trying to take shape, big, deep, low pressure center in the south. If you remember my video last Thursday, I talked about these big, deep south lows that may have the potential to produce severe weather down south and snow up on the back and the northwest side of it. This is December 1st, and this is actually a further south solution, but you have to keep in mind we are 10 days out right now on that. Okay, so coming up with any specifics on exactly where it's going to track or who's going to get what type of precipitation is not reality. It's not even possible at this point. All we know is there's a big storm there, but I do know this, and that is that there's a really big signal here of a lot of southeastern, eastern U.S. rain. And this pattern absolutely supports that. I would not be trying to find a way to put snow up and down the coast with this storm system here in early December. It's just not going to happen. So just keep that in mind. This will wrap up. Bring in another shard of... well, I was going to edit that part out, but evidently when you try to say shot, you sometimes say shart. I don't know, but that's what we're running with. So anyways, another shot of cooler air behind this. You can see the Arctic high works back down in at 1050 Arctic high. It's a big blast of colder air again to start December. Out to the end of this run, we don't see a storm system yet back in the picture, probably closer to the 8th, 9th, 10th or so of the month. But listen, here's the deal. Total snow 2 weeks from now. You look at every model's different. Okay, you got some model this is the AI euro. This is the GFS overnight. I mean, so trying to figure this out, that's more north and west. It's probably not off the table. Exactly where is just is not. It's not a good play at the moment. But nonetheless, if you're here, if you're anywhere really in here, and I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to try to split some of these areas right down in half. South and east of this, you're just running this southeastern ridge, warmer risk, rainy type setup right now. It's not a pattern yet for bigger storms, even into the first 5 week of December. It's just not there. Okay, let's talk about the longer term pattern and what I'm talking about. So, left side is the AI GEFS, the artificial intelligence model of the GFS, and again, look at this. Look what you see here. It's evident that you have this strong southeast ridge showing itself. Again, we have strong North Pacific blocking, which is dislodging Arctic air from the Stratospheric polar vortex, which is our vortex at around 20,000 feet or 500 millibars. But in these, MJO 7 and 8 during La Nina winters, there's this southeast ridge as a component to this. The southern U.S. warmth and the southeastern ridge by day 15 on the AI is much more pronounced than it is on the ensemble on the right, but they both have it. All right, and it presents a warmer risk. Now, I'm not saying that the east and the northeast and New England can't get cold. I'm not saying that at all, because you can be. But when storm systems work through, the idea or the issue is going to be how much they cut and bring warm noses into the storm system themselves. Okay, doesn't mean you can't get cold, but getting winter storms is going to be difficult in that pattern. Here's the European day 15. Much more the same suggestions. The AI is a little further or a little bit more muted with it than the GFS. Okay, it's not as aggressive. You can see that. But your low is also a little bit further north here into the Atlantic. And so it's similar in its temperature forecasts, but it's not as warm. The GEFS is warmer in the south and southeast. I think a combination of the two of these might be a good play. But nonetheless, there's that component to this that we need to consider. The HDDs, from a heating demand standpoint, using energy, you start December a little bit below. That's the onset of MJO phase 7, which I will show you. And in my opinion, the unfortunate location of the stratospheric polar vortex. I don't believe, I know we've seen all this warming stuff talk, all this stuff, everybody getting so excited. I don't believe it really is time to get excited yet for that. I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. But you can even see here by the end of the period, yes, we have data that's above 10 and 30-year normals, but just by the 7th, again, a suggestion of going back down below, and that's probably because a storm system is going to bring warmth into the south and east and pump those or bring those numbers down. So GFS 10 millibar charts. This is where our stratospheric polar vortex is. The core of that is over here on the other side of the hemisphere. You can see the warming. There's no question about it. There's a warming there. I always tell our listeners, our clients, focus on the core location, the central location of the 10 millibar stratospheric vortex there. That's the core of it right there. That last little contour there of pressure right here, that's where it's at, okay? And what you note all the way out through all the way at the end of the run, the core of this is on the other side of the hemisphere. Now, there are indications of elongation or stretching. Okay, you can see that. But even out to the very end on the GFS, it's still on the other side of the hemisphere. Okay, we do have the suggestion here of what we would call a positive TNH, where our vortex is coming from the troposphere, the cold, and we see this blocking up and over the top. This is the GFS 10 to 15. And the southeast ridge. This is more of a plus TNH pattern, which is what we saw last year. But we're struggling to really define or establish a Greenland block or a negative Arctic oscillation. We're not seeing that. And that's going to make it difficult for there to be an established source of Arctic air that can these storms can really work with further east and up to the northeast, if you will. There's the GFS is trying to hint at a negative Arctic oscillation, but a lot of the data is struggling to see that. And we're also really struggling to see the development of any type of negative NAO or the Greenland block, at least at this distance. And you can see that very clearly here. I can just show you the ensemble. There's the NAO forecast from the EPS and from the AI as well. And the AO forecast, it's teetering, not really much of a negative Arctic oscillation there at all. And then the GFS I just showed you, well, it tries to go a little negative with it, you can see. You really want a negative Arctic oscillation, especially in December. It just helps with the coming south of the Arctic air, and it would help to squash the southeast ridge. And so we're struggling to see that in many ways. The European Weekly never does it. So we need to watch that. The lack of Greenland blocking, the lack of the AO is going to, in my opinion, introduce the risk for the southeastern ridge to be a nuisance for a time. And so here's where the more technical part of the discussion real quick. We are going into a high amplitude phase 7 MJO. There's no question. The blocking came from 5 and 6 MJO back when we were in 3 and this, that, and the other. But in Greenland, that has since subsided and left. This is the lagged temperature composite for the 850 millibar temperatures. You can see we're in phase 7. Okay, we're getting there, if you will, in about really day 6. Day 7, we're in phase 7. Well, the response initially for the first 5 days is a southeast ridge. Even the second 5 days, day 0 through 10, there's southeastern warmth suggestions. Okay, getting into the 10 to 15, which would be the lag 2. These are in 5-day lags, or pentads, what you call them. So 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15. You get the point. These are in 5-day chunks. We would start to squash that and push that colder air south as you got into the 10 to 15-day portion of the phase 7 of the MJO. Okay, that's going to be the period I talked about in the last video, probably more like December 5th through the 20th, for better shots of cold, better setups for storms, especially east. As you get into phase 8, which is the 15 to 20-day forecast right now, you've got to come over here and find what it does in these situations. And it pushes the colder air further south, all the way down to the south and to the east. It's a better setup, but towards the end of phase 8, again, you have suggestions of dealing with the eastern and southeastern ridge. Okay, same thing here. We look at these composites using Enzo stages. December, phase 7, negative Enzo, which is what we would call a La Nina, right? A weak La Nina. You see the southeast ridge. It's right there. It's very evident. And lack of really Greenland blocking, more Pacific blocking a little bit in Alaska. It's pretty good analog. But phase 8, you see over here, it's more suggestive with better potential for blocking in the higher latitudes, but still the suggestions of higher heights in the south and southeast. So I think we continue to kind of see this positive TNH pattern. You can research that. It's the tropical northern hemispheric pattern in a positive state. There's some language on CPC for it. But we continue to see that setup, which would suggest it may be difficult to get East Coast big storms, at least initially. And we're going to continue to see that southern and southeastern U.S. warmth be a problem. Okay, here's your CFS weekly, week 1 and week 2. See the week 2 forecast? Still the southeast ridge. Go over here to week 3. I mean, that's a pretty big signal for that. And it wouldn't surprise me ahead of bigger storms we see it pump up like that. Maybe this is over exaggerated a little bit. Week 4, you see it. Now, you would think, wow, that's a really hot forecast, really warm. It's not necessarily warm because of where the vortex is and where our blocking is in the Pacific. It's cold. Week 2, week 3, week 4, for the central U.S., the Midwest, the interior Northeast, the Great Lakes, it's cold. But the southern and southeastern U.S. continues to run with warmer departures due to this. In the middle, you're going to have big winter storms. Maybe those run from the panhandles of Oklahoma, Texas through Chicago up into and maybe they cut. Maybe they come as far south as the panhandles through St. Louis, Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio, and then they cut. But we need to see more blocking in Greenland set up for them to not cut as much, if that makes sense. So hopefully that makes sense. Last map I have, this is the 3 to 4 week temperature outlook, the 5th through the 18th. I don't have a problem with this right now. The only thing I could see being possible is it's a little warmer in the southeast, all right, up to, say, almost New Jersey. Nonetheless, it's probably more of an active period with above normal precipitation, which means we will be tracking storms that have the potential to produce wintry precipitation, wintry weather, if you will. In our long-range analysis, what we have at the beginning is storm dates, and this was posted yesterday. But you can see that when we target these bigger storms, these are the dates to watch. So we are going to watch the first one, which I talked about in the video, which is the post-Thanksgiving storm. Probably going to be rain for much of the eastern U.S. There will be a snow component. And then the next one, the 4th through the 6th of December, we want to watch for pumping up warmth out ahead of that in the east and the southeast as well. And we'll continue to watch things going forward. So make sure to subscribe to the channel here. Share the video with a friend. We appreciate you watching here on this Saturday. And hopefully this gives you a bit of a clearer picture. It's going to get cold. December's going to be a fun month for forecasters to figure out where it's going to snow. But there are risks to that. And that southeast ridge is a big one we're going to keep watching throughout the remainder of the season, or throughout the remainder of the month. Early projections for me would be I would watch for, as the vortex starts to become stretched and starts to probably come back on the side of the hemisphere a little bit, my early projections would be that this is very ideal for late December into January, and that southeast ridge may have the potential to actually go away into January, potentially, if we can continue to see this type of behavior in the stratosphere and potentially bringing it back and stretching it and allowing it to be more available, more 13, 14 like, kind of, possibly. So that's all I have. Have a great weekend.